so just want to welcome everybody to this information session. With me, my name's Alex Simon. I'm the Director of Development and Communication for the Legal Aid Society of Mid-New York. We are an LSC funded legal aid organization that exists in 13 counties in what we would say is central New York, I guess. We go as far east, I believe, as really Syracuse. There's, I think, Cayuga County out there, so kind of touching the Finger Lakes, down as far south as Broome County, which is Binghamton, and as far north as really Watertown. So, and I believe Jefferson County touches the Canadian border. And our sister organization, with some of you might be familiar with, is LASNY, of which Joanna is familiar. And Joanna is also an alumna of Albany Law School. So I want to bring her with us today to talk about it. She's been with us for, I think, a couple of years now. And yeah, we handle everything from domestic violence cases to now we're pivoting a lot into housing cases. So foreclosures and evictions, as the housing crisis continues to affect those most vulnerable in our community. We do bankruptcy cases. We do, I'm trying to think, we do some veterans cases. We do a lot of consumer cases, and we triage those cases. We have a network of other organizations that we work with to sometimes refer cases out. I think there's many benefits to working in legal services organization. But I'm going to let Joanna introduce herself, and we'll get into more of that as well.
Hi, my name is Joanna Bortnick. I'm a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society of Mid-New York. I've been here for just about 2 years. I've been licensed for a little over a year, and I'm a 2020 graduate of Albany Law School. I practice mostly family law with a little bit of disability and whatever else gets sprinkled in there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, right now, I think the biggest thing that we're looking for is we are hiring law graduates. So I'm encouraging, third years to apply. I'm encouraging young alumni to apply. I think that we do give, attorneys access to the justice system. We allow them to kind of dip right in, meet with clients, and appear in front of judges fairly quickly. So there are benefits to that. There's also benefits in terms of student loan forgiveness, not only through obviously the public loan forgiveness program nationally, but our major funder, Legal Service Organization, offers a benefit there as well to students. I believe there's some qualifications, but I believe it's up to $20,000 or so. And like I said, if you get your teeth cut, so to speak, at an organization like this or with LASNY, I think you're going to have more experience underneath your belt. Joanna, do you want to touch on anything? Why did you choose LASNY and legal services Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really went into law school knowing that I wanted to work in the public sector. So a legal aid organization is a pretty natural fit for me. I knew I wanted to do litigation. I wasn't interested in transactional work. Nothing against that. That just wasn't what I was interested in. And this was a great way for me to get right into litigation. I think, I had a good caseload within the first year, obviously, with a lot of supervision. My managing attorney and our director of litigation are right down the hall from me. So I had two very experienced attorneys to go to, but I also felt very trusted. I felt like I could develop as an attorney, ask for help when I needed it, get the supervision that I needed, but not feel micromanaged, which I think is a pet peeve of mine. But I definitely felt like I had a lot of help and support. And if I had questions, if I needed help, I could go right down the hall and get it. So that was a big benefit for me. And because I'm naturally interested in public service work, I love this job. I love feeling like I'm really helping clients. we all spend most of our days at work, and I'd rather all those hours be put to something that I feel like is really important and good. So that's why I'm here.
But yeah, I wanted this to be more of a dialogue, for you guys. Is there any questions that you have of us to start? Go ahead.
I'd like to ask, actually, Joanna, when you were here, was there anything in particular that you focused on in terms of maybe a field placement or your background experience that sort of brought you into this area that you're in now? Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. I have most of my internships have all been in family law. I did the family violence litigation clinic at Albany Law with Professor Connors. I know we have a mix of 3 L's and 1 L's, but if you still have time to do a clinic, I would highly recommend it. Anytime you can get in front of a judge, anytime you can be doing the actual things that you will be doing as an attorney day to day, take that opportunity, take that chance. So, I mean, yeah, what I did at the clinic is a lot of what I'm doing now. It was very practical, very hands-on experience.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Question?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. Can you guys hear me all right? I just was curious, you said you had a managing attorney. What was that relationship like? Did it feel like a mentorship that you would have kind of during law school as well?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to compare it to anything, I would compare it to the relationship I had with Professor Connors at the clinic. My managing attorney is Christina Riley. She's been an attorney for 20 plus years, and right next to her office is Cindy Hendrickson, who's our director of litigation, who has also been an attorney for 20 plus years. So with those attorneys, it's a mentor-mentee relationship. They're both very interested in taking young attorneys and giving them the skills and the confidence and the support to turn us from, unformed little attorneys into attorneys who can go out into the world and feel like we can do our job competently.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll ask a question of the students that are here. What interests you in public service or public civil legal litigation? What are you guys looking for in a potential employer?
And I would also note that we do have some transactional positions here, although I'm not sure if those are open, Alex.
I can get you a full list of all of our openings.
We do have a transactional side too for people who are interested in litigation.
I guess I'll go first. I am currently this semester in the family violence litigation clinic, and I really love it. So it's just something that I want to continue doing after graduation.
Okay.
That's awesome. That was such a good experience for me, and it was so useful.
For me, I'm joining in at law school, after having a career. So this is like my pivot. And this was public service is something always been important to me. So as like a GLC fellow, it's really the avenue of law that I want to pursue. But specifically with housing, Matthew Desmond's book, Evicted, just like spurred my interest in, these issues that are, ubiquitous.
Yeah, it's definitely something I think I can speak not as an attorney, but it's a long kind of career you start to realize post graduation. And I think building your career here at a legal aid society, I see it in people's resumes. I think it's an excellent step in your career to really start and do this type of work. I think is very important. Obviously, we're very necessary. That's why we're funded by the federal government and the state government as well, in the court system to keep the courts moving and give our clients equal access to justice. So yeah.
And I would just add, if eviction is kind of the area that drew you into into law school, into public service, that is an area of law where having an attorney makes such a difference. I'm sure you know it's a very rule-based area of law. Either you served the correct notices or you didn't, and that's something that someone who doesn't have a legal background wouldn't necessarily know, but having an attorney with you can make such a difference. And those, I know for a fact that we have open ERAP positions. So that's, definitely something that we're looking for. I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, Alex.
I'm muted. Okay. Sorry, there's still toggling between everything. Yeah, we have those positions available. In domestic violence, we call it, and the tenant stability program, we're calling it, as well as our a staff attorney for our helpline, which we can train folks on, and foreclosure is open currently, and those
Lots
are the
of
main
housing
areas.
positions, if that's what you're interested in.
What's that?
Lots of housing positions, if
Lots of
housing
housing
stability
positions.
is something that's important.
Right, and that's what's coming down. There's a lot of funding behind that, and that's obviously what's, since the moratoriums have opened up, as I don't know if you guys have studied this, but moratoriums during COVID have been lifted, and now there's been eviction and foreclosure court has opened back up, and there's kind of a backlog of cases that have been happening, and so the state and the federal government are funding those areas strongly, and so that's where we have a lot of money for open positions. And I will say, and from what I can tell, the managing attorneys are very open to, they're open to newer attorneys, newly minted attorneys, newly minted law graduates. And if they have interest in flexibility, in other words, kind of getting into maybe a housing program, but also then, down the line, if their main interest is domestic violence, of which there's, I'm looking 3 openings right now, they can pivot to that. They can pivot to other areas within this agency and this law firm, if that's your long-term goals. So yeah.
Yeah, I would just echo that. That's another great advantage of working in a legal aid society. We address issues as they come up. Now, obviously, housing is a huge issue, but you will have the chance within, 5-10 years, if your interests change, if your interests shift, if you just want to become a more well-rounded attorney who knows a lot about different practice areas, working here will really give you the opportunity to become that kind of well-rounded general practice attorney, if that's what you're interested in. Or if you want to stay in housing and become a real expert in that, there's that option too.
Yeah, it's not going to be kind of theoretical for you. You're going to be saying after, a couple of years, a year to a couple of years, that I've done these cases, I've worked with these types of, individuals, and I understand how to, how some judges work. You'll obviously develop relationships that will, with the judges and colleagues. You'll understand attorneys that you'll be working with in the community. And like I said, it's a real opportunity to get your hands dirty and get your hands on cases and be practicing law. So yeah, one thing about our legal aid society, as opposed to other legal aid societies within New York, is we actually have the Farm Worker Law Project as well. I believe each state is awarded a grant to be the farm worker or agricultural worker grantee. Actually, in some cases it's a region, but across the state of New York, from Long Island to Buffalo to the Adirondacks, we are the legal services, the legal aid for migrant workers and their housing protections, as well as some of their employment protections as well. That particular office is located in New Paltz, New York. It's fully staffed from what I understand at the moment, but it is it's something that's kind of different about us, something that separates us. So when I mentioned those 13 counties in the beginning, that's mainly for kind of some of our traditional cases, but we also represent migrant workers who are vital to the the system of of food that we have in this country. And so everything from dairy workers to folks that are on the front lines harvesting the food that we eat in this country, especially in New York. New York, you don't think of it necessarily as a big agricultural state, but it is. It's a massive agricultural state. I think we're the second or third largest dairy producer in the country. We have a massive viticultural wine growing region in the Finger Lakes, as well as Long Island. I mean, apples, we're actually along the fruit belt as well. There's in Western New York, there's growing as well, and a massive corn producer. So yeah. Where are you guys from, just out of curiosity? Are you guys from the capital region? Are you from upstate New York? Go ahead. Andrew.
I'm from a small town outside of Troy, New York, so capital region.
Okay, cool.
I'm originally from Binghamton. I live in Orange County right at the moment.
Yep. So we have an office in Binghamton. That's right downtown.
I'm actually from the Adirondacks. Sorry.
Oh, cool.
Oh, where in the Adirondacks? I grew up in the Adirondack area.
I'm from Tupper Lake.
Okay, yep. I grew up in Canton, so around there.
Okay, it's like an hour, yeah.
Yep.
And Abigail had chimed in through the chat a little bit earlier that that she's sitting in the library right now. So she wanted us to know that. And she's a 1L and is very interested in learning how she can help others. So.
Yes, well, public service, that's a great way to do it. And if you're a 1L, I would definitely say keep an eye on those clinics. That's it. You have 2 more years, so plenty of time to get into a clinic.
How, Johanna, how would you say your job has changed along the lines of COVID? Has that shifted things for you in the office and for others in the office there?
Well, you have to remember that I started during the height of COVID. So I graduated from Albany, what is it, May of 2020? Graduations are around May. I think, yeah. So I graduated May of 2020. I started this job in August of 2020 and then took the bar exam in October. So the whole time that I've worked here has been, the height of the pandemic onwards. When I started, I was a few days in the office, a few days out of the office, and then I kind of slowly transitioned back into the office. I just prefer to be in the office. I find it's a bit easier for me to work when I'm here, but I've also found that my managing attorney is very good about working with me. I know I had COVID, unfortunately, earlier this year, and she was very good about being flexible about, when I felt I was ready to come back into the office, and she made sure I had everything I needed to work at home. In terms of court appearances, a lot of things have gone back to in person, but I think it's really been a positive change having that option for virtual appearances, for first appearances, for short appearances, having the option to sit at your desk and just zoom in for that 5-minute first appearance is really great. So, pluses and minuses, but I hope we learn a lot of good lessons about what technology can do for us.
Yeah, I'll echo the hybrid stuff. I'm in the office as well. I have a 2-year-old at home, so I need to get out and get into the office to really be productive. I found obviously we were fully remote during the pandemic. I was hired January of 2020, and then obviously the pandemic hit. We were fully remote for that at least year, maybe year and a half, and then the offices have been open kind of when the courts opened back up, and yeah, we have several protocols still in place. We mask at the office, but if it's up to the managing attorneys. So, but I know that we are provided, at least I can speak for myself. I have a laptop if I needed to work from home. for a day or two. I just work with my boss on that, and we can, set up a schedule and get projects done remotely. But I was always the student that, worked in the library as Abigail is. I couldn't work in my dorm room, the house that I had. I needed to get out of the office out of my room to really get productive. So I like that separation between my home and my work. Some people don't. Some people obviously like to be at home more, which is cool. And I think up to the managing attorney. So I can't speak for everybody as well. Yeah. Any other questions on kind of some of the stuff Joanna and I talked about? Fire away. Fire away.
We have posted the openings for the students and for the 3Ls on Albany Law Link. And I just want to mention the job posting numbers for you, 35711 and 35712, when you're referencing them on Albany Law Link, and they are up. So
I guess
What are-
I have a question.
ahead.
I've always heard that public service is like full-time plus when it comes to the hours worked. And I'm okay with that because it has that moral component to make it worth it when you're working with people in need. But I was curious if, that experience has been tough over the last couple of years, especially going remote, hybrid, and all these other different logistical
Honestly,
issues.
Our working hours, obviously, as an attorney, we have ethical obligations to, we have to make sure our work gets done. We can't be missing deadlines, but our minimum required hours are 7 hours a day. We have a 35-hour week, which is an unheard of, for attorneys. That's incredibly low. I, generally work around, 8 hours a day. I try very hard to keep a good separation between work and home life because I do work with, survivors of domestic violence. So I try and keep in mind the mental health component of that. And I'd say anyone who goes into public service should have a good understanding of vicarious trauma and how to kind of take measures to protect yourself from that. In housing, your clients will also be traumatized, not in the same way that, maybe Maggie and I would see with our domestic violence survivors, but they will be traumatized. So I'd say, having a good work-life balance is something that I enjoy here and that I think is really vital to protecting, my own personal health. If that answers your question.
Yeah, I can echo that on the, administration and management of the agency. That's valued. A balance is totally, I think, valued. And we encourage people who are expressing burnout to, do practices by which that they can, be back to us healthy
Yeah.
as possible. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
A lot
go
of
ahead.
vacation. My managing attorney is also a yoga teacher. I do yoga with her. So, I've never had it, as long as I plan my vacations in advance, I give out, I get approval, I make sure my schedule is managed. I've never had anyone give me a hard time or make me feel bad about taking time off. Taking a week off, first week of December, it's fine. I got approval. I worked my court appearances, things like that.
Yeah, I've never
Thank you.
been denied any kind of time off. And I would say I was in the private sector early and I got like 5 days, and it was New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Christmas, maybe. I think for those 5 days were the only days. And then obviously because of the courts and other things, we get, I think, I don't know, over 10, it feels like holidays, obviously Veterans Day, things like
You
that.
get the federal holidays.
It's little, but it adds up to, again, the balance that you have when you're here. I think it's vital to working.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your candid answers.
anyone else?
How are you guys feeling for the bar exam? Have you started thinking about that at all?
Super
I-
nervous.
Yeah.
Have you guys worked with Professor Buffington is still there, right? No.
No, he just recently left and
Oh,
so that position has changed there. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. I had a great professor at Albany Law who really worked with us. So Albany was great about that, helping us through the bar practice.
Any
Actually,
tips?
that kind of leads me to a question about the bar exam. I know that great attorneys sometimes don't pass the first time. How does legal aid kind of handle that situation if you've been, when you're in that?
I think I'll probably leave that question to Alex. I don't want to speak for the administration.
There
But we-
is, I think we're pretty lenient on that. I think there's a person here who did not pass, and there's a ton of work to be done. So if you can't, if for whatever reason you haven't passed, I am not on that side. I'm not on the attorney side. I just know that I would say we're fairly lenient. I don't know if there might be an actual policy in place, but I guess I can speak that I know that there's been a case of somebody not passing, and I believe they're still here. And I think, there's still opportunities for that person to do work. There's a ton of work here at the agency to dip into.
But I would
So-
say, we have a 3-week paid bar leave policy. I mean, I think I took like a week, but I know people who took the full 3 weeks and really took advantage of that. I obviously was working here for August, September, and I think I took the bar exam early October. So, my colleagues were always very willing to help me with bar prep. We have a law grad position for precisely that sort of situation where you haven't passed the bar exam, but you graduated law school.
Thank you.
Any tips for passing the bar, Joanna?
I'd say the UB is like any other standardized test. It repeats itself. If you do enough multiple choice questions, if you do enough essays, I had Barbary, but I knew lots of people who had Themis, Kaplan, whatever, and they were fine. I'd say, just approach it like any standardized test. It's at the end of the day, if you do enough questions, you get yourself used to the types of answers that they're looking for and the types of answers that they will ask. You'll get there and you'll think, I've done this exam before. So I think my advice would just be practice, practice, practice. But also, don't beat yourself up if you don't pass. I think, Michelle Obama didn't pass the first time. There's a long list of very successful, very smart people who did not pass.
Anyone else?
Well, I encourage everybody to check out our website, lasmini.org. There's a careers page. It needs to be a little bit updated, but if you go to the bottom, there's a listings on Indeed. Basically, if you go to jobs@lasmini.org, submit your CV and your resume, or your resume and your cover letter. It will be looked at. You can copy me in. My email is just alex.simon@lasmini.org. Joanna's is, I'll let you say, because you just got married.
I did. Yes, it's Joanna.Bortnick. So I think, Meg, I think you have my email with my new name. So if anyone has any questions, they should feel free to reach out.
And yeah, I encourage you, if you are going to be a law graduate, I encourage you to apply to the law graduate position.
You can get a
And-
practice order. Say that. Practice orders are a great thing.
And we have several Albany law students here, not just Joanna. We have, I think there's at least 4 or 5 off the top of my head. And I'm so happy that I reached out to Meg, because I'm talking to Joanna and others. Albany Law School is one of the top public service law schools in the country. So, so yeah, you'll be with folks that are your fellow alum and alumnuses. So
Yes, definitely. Thank you for reaching out, Alex, with these opportunities, and we hope to get some great applicants over to you. And we thank you both for being here today, for sharing this information. Very much appreciated.
Of course, it was so nice to meet you all.
excellent meeting you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.